What if I told you that the number one food quietly destroying your heart right now is not butter? It is not red meat. It is not fried chicken. It is not eggs. What if I told you that this one single food is sitting in your kitchen at this very moment, probably in your pantry, probably in your refrigerator, and you have been consuming it every single day believing it is completely safe? You may have even been told it is healthy. You may have seen it marketed as a heart-friendly choice. And yet, this food is silently inflaming your arteries, it is silently stiffening your blood vessels, and it is pushing millions of people closer and closer to a heart attack every single year. The most alarming part, most doctors are not talking about it. They are still focused on cholesterol, they are still prescribing statins, they are still telling you to cut out eggs and reduce saturated fat. And meanwhile, this one food is doing more damage to your cardiovascular system than cholesterol ever could. I understand that sounds like a bold claim. Some of you watching right now are probably thinking, that cannot possibly be true. But stay with me, because by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly what this food is, exactly how it is damaging your heart, and exactly what you need to do starting today to protect yourself and the people you love. My name is Dr. Lauren Hayes. I have spent over 2 decades studying cardiovascular disease, working with patients who have survived heart attacks and working with patients who are on the verge of having one. And I can tell you with complete certainty that what I am about to share with you today could genuinely save your life. Let me take you back to something that happened in my practice not long ago. A patient came in, I will call him Robert. 52 years old, he looked like the picture of health. He exercised consistently. He did not smoke. He did not drink excessively. His cholesterol panel was actually quite good. His LDL was within normal range. His HDL was decent. His total cholesterol was unremarkable. On paper, this man should have had a perfectly healthy heart. And yet, Robert came to me because he had been experiencing tightness in his chest, shortness of breath climbing stairs, an occasional pain radiating down his left arm. We ran tests. We performed an angiogram, and what we found was genuinely alarming. Robert had significant plaque accumulation in his coronary arteries. He was heading directly toward a major cardiac event. His cholesterol was fine. So what was causing this? After a thorough examination of his diet, his lifestyle, and his blood markers beyond standard cholesterol panels, we identified the culprit. And that culprit was something Robert had been consuming every single day of his life for 30 years. That food is refined sugar. Before you close this video thinking you already know sugar is bad, I want to ask you something directly. If you already know sugar is harmful, why are you still consuming it in the amounts you are? Because here is the reality. The average person is consuming somewhere between 17 and 22 teaspoons of added sugar every single day. That is 3 to 4 times what the American Heart Association recommends. And most people genuinely do not realize they are doing it. They believe they are being careful. They believe they are making reasonable choices. But sugar is concealed in places most people would never suspect, and it is causing damage to your cardiovascular system in ways that go far beyond anything cholesterol has ever done. Let me explain the precise mechanism, because I believe that once you truly understand what is happening inside your body when you consume excess refined sugar, you will never look at it the same way again. When you eat refined sugar, your blood glucose rises rapidly. Your body is designed to manage some glucose. That is how cells obtain energy. But when you flood your system with excessive amounts day after day, something dangerous begins to develop. Your pancreas works harder and harder, releasing more insulin to bring blood sugar down. Over time, your cells become resistant to that insulin. This is insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is not simply a precursor to type 2 diabetes. It is one of the most powerful independent drivers of cardiovascular disease that exists. Here is why. When insulin resistance develops, your body enters a state of chronic low-grade inflammation. And inflammation is the real mechanism behind heart disease. For decades, we were told cholesterol was the enemy. We were told it builds up in arteries the way grease clogs a pipe. But that is an oversimplification. Cholesterol only becomes genuinely dangerous when it is oxidized, when it is chemically damaged. And what causes that oxidation is inflammation. And one of the most potent triggers of chronic systemic inflammation is excess refined sugar. Think of it this way. Cholesterol is the passenger. Inflammation is the reckless driver. Cholesterol can circulate in your blood without necessarily causing a problem. But when you add chronic inflammation, that cholesterol becomes damaged. It penetrates arterial walls. Your immune system responds. Plaque accumulates, and you are accelerating toward a cardiac event. And it compounds further. Refined sugar elevates triglycerides, a type of fat in the blood that is one of the strongest independent predictors of heart disease. When you consume excess sugar, your liver converts it directly into triglycerides. That fat circulates through your bloodstream, contributes to plaque development, and increases your cardiac risk. Studies have demonstrated that people with elevated triglyceride levels face significantly higher risk of heart attack and stroke, even when their cholesterol is normal. And what drives triglycerides higher than almost anything else? Not dietary fat, not eggs, not butter, refined sugar. Endothelial damage. There is more. And I want you to understand this because it is critical. Refined sugar directly damages the endothelium, the thin, delicate cellular lining of your blood vessels. Think of it as the inner coating of a garden hose. When the endothelium is healthy, blood vessels remain flexible, they dilate properly, blood flows without resistance, and everything functions as it should. But when excess sugar constantly batters these endothelial cells, they become dysfunctional. Blood vessels stiffen, they lose their ability to dilate when circulation demands increase. Blood pressure rises, and now you have another major independent risk factor for heart disease, all generated by sugar. Here is something that most people have never been told, and that most doctors do not discuss with their patients. In the 1960s, the sugar industry paid scientists at Harvard University to minimize the connection between sugar and heart disease and redirect attention towards saturated fat and cholesterol instead. This was exposed and documented in a paper published in JAMA Internal Medicine in 2016. The sugar industry funded research that shaped decades of nutritional policy, deliberately shifting blame away from sugar and onto dietary fat. The result was the low-fat movement of the 1980s and 90s. Every product became low-fat. But when fat is removed from food, the flavor disappears. So food manufacturers replaced it with sugar. Low-fat yogurt, loaded with sugar, low-fat salad dressings, loaded with sugar, low-fat crackers, cookies, cereals, all loaded with sugar. And what happened? Heart disease rates did not decline. They rose, obesity rates exploded, diabetes rates surged, and we were all told to keep avoiding fat and keep consuming these so-called heart-healthy low-fat products that were secretly full of the very thing that was actually causing the damage. I want to be precise about what I mean when I say sugar, because I am not referring to the natural sugars found in whole fruits. When you eat an apple or a handful of berries, the sugar comes packaged with fiber, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. The fiber moderates glucose absorption, so blood sugar does not spike dramatically. Whole fruits are not the problem. The problem is refined added sugar. The sugar in soda, the sugar in candy and pastries, the sugar in breakfast cereals and granola bars, the sugar in flavored coffee beverages, the sugar in fruit juices stripped of their fiber, the sugar in ketchup, barbecue sauce, pasta sauce, and commercial bread. Yes, most commercial breads contain added sugar. Let me give you some perspective with actual numbers. A single can of regular soda contains approximately 39 grams of sugar, nearly 10 teaspoons. The American Heart Association recommends women consume no more than 6 teaspoons of added sugar daily. One can of soda and you have already exceeded your entire daily limit by a significant margin. A large flavored latte from a popular coffee chain can contain 40 to 50 grams of sugar. A single serving of many breakfast cereals contains 12 to 16 grams. A flavored yogurt can contain 20 to 25 grams, and people consume all of these within a single morning and cannot understand why their health is declining. I want to discuss something called advanced glycation end products, AGEs, because this is another mechanism through which sugar accelerates cardiovascular damage, and almost nobody is discussing it. When excess sugar circulates in the blood, it reacts chemically with proteins and fats in a process called glycation. This produces harmful compounds called advanced glycation end products. These AGEs cause cross-linking of proteins within arterial walls, making vessels rigid and inelastic. They trigger chronic inflammation. They promote oxidative stress. They accelerate the biological aging of your entire cardiovascular system. The name is fitting. They literally age your body from the inside out. And the more refined sugar you consume, the more AGEs you produce, and the faster your heart and blood vessels deteriorate. I am not the kind of physician who identifies a problem and then leaves you without a clear path forward. Here is exactly what you can do starting today. Step 1, become a label reader. Every time you pick up a packaged product, turn it over and locate the added sugars line on the nutrition facts panel. The FDA now requires added sugars to be listed separately, and that distinction matters. Aim for as close to 0 grams of added sugar as possible in the foods you purchase regularly. Also examine the ingredient list. Sugar is listed under dozens of different names: high fructose corn syrup, cane sugar, dextrose, maltose, sucrose, corn syrup solids, agave nectar, rice syrup, barley malt. If any of these appear near the top of the ingredient list, put the product back. Step 2. Eliminate sugary beverages completely. This is the single largest source of added sugar in most people's diets and simultaneously the most straightforward to address. Stop drinking soda, stop drinking fruit juice, stop drinking sweetened teas and energy drinks and coffee beverages loaded with flavored syrups. Drink water, unsweetened tea, or black coffee. If you want flavor in your water, add fresh lemon, cucumber slices, or mint. Remove liquid sugar from your routine entirely, because liquid sugar is the most damaging form. It reaches your bloodstream faster than any other delivery method and does not trigger the satiety signals that solid food produces. Step 3. Track your intake for 1 week. Write down everything you consume and calculate the grams of added sugar. Most people are genuinely shocked by the total. Awareness is the necessary first step toward change. Step 4. Build your meals around whole, unprocessed foods: vegetables, whole fruits, lean proteins, healthy fats from avocados, nuts, and olive oil, whole grains, legumes, and seeds. These are the foods that reduce inflammation, support endothelial function, keep triglycerides in a healthy range, and protect your cardiovascular system over time. You do not need a complicated, trendy diet. You do not need expensive supplements. You need real food and less sugar. I want to acknowledge something honestly, because I believe in speaking to my patients with both truth and compassion. Reducing sugar is genuinely difficult. Sugar is embedded throughout our food supply, and it has addictive properties. When you first begin cutting it out, you may experience withdrawal symptoms: headaches, irritability, fatigue, intense cravings. This is a real physiological response, and it is entirely normal. It typically passes within 1 to 2 weeks. Push through it. The other side is worth the discomfort. I have watched patients completely transform their cardiovascular health in a matter of months simply by reducing their sugar intake. I have seen triglycerides drop by 50%. I have seen inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein normalize. I have seen blood pressure improve. I have seen patients reduce or eliminate medications they had been taking for years. The impact of removing this one substance from your daily diet is genuinely remarkable. Let me return to Robert, the patient I described at the beginning. Once we mapped out his actual daily sugar consumption, the picture became clear. He was having flavored oatmeal packets for breakfast, 14 grams of added sugar per serving; granola bars as snacks, 12 grams each; bottled salad dressings, 8 grams per serving; jarred pasta sauce, 10 grams per half cup; sports drinks after exercise, 34 grams per bottle. When we calculated the total, Robert was consuming over 70 grams of added sugar daily. And he had no idea. He genuinely believed he was eating cleanly and making healthy choices. Sugar was concealed in nearly everything he was eating. 6 months after making these changes, we retested him comprehensively. His triglycerides had dropped by 45%. His C-reactive protein, a direct marker of systemic inflammation, had moved from a dangerously elevated level into the normal range. His fasting insulin had improved substantially, indicating that his insulin resistance was reversing. And a follow-up scan showed that the progression of his arterial plaque had stopped. I want to be honest. In most cases, we cannot fully reverse plaque that is already formed, but we stopped it from advancing. Robert was no longer moving toward a heart attack. He had taken genuine control of his cardiovascular future, and the primary change that made this possible was eliminating refined sugar. If this video gave you something valuable, if you learned something today that shifts how you think about your daily food choices, I need to ask you to do one thing. Share this with someone you love. Share it with your parents, your partner, your children, your closest friends, because the information in this video could genuinely protect someone's life. Heart disease remains the leading cause of death worldwide, not cancer, not accidents, not infections, heart disease. And one of its most significant dietary contributors is something millions of people are consuming every single day without a second thought. That can change. But it starts with awareness. And awareness starts with conversations like this one. Subscribe if you haven't already, because I release videos like this every week, breaking down the latest research, correcting outdated myths, and giving you honest, evidence-based information about what is actually affecting your health. And leave a comment below telling me your biggest takeaway from today. I read every single one, and I genuinely value hearing from you. I'm Dr. Lauren Hayes. Take care of your heart. It is the only one you have.